10.8 Equations of Circles. So this should be a pretty easy lesson. There's just one thing you really need to know, and that is the equation of a circle. And then we'll jump right into the problem. So the basic format for equations of a circle is this. So you'll want to write this down. It's x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared equals r squared. Okay, now what does that stand for? H and K, those are the center point. So it's the point H, K. So H is your X, K is your Y. R here, I'll write it in red, R is your radius. Okay. So let's look at some of these problems. It says identify the center and radius of each, then sketch the graph. Okay, so again, right above it I'm going to write the formula. So it's x minus h squared plus y, that's terrible, y minus k squared equals r squared. Okay, so what's being subtracted from this x? Nothing, 0. What's being subtracted from this y? Nothing, 0. So what does that mean? That means our center, and I'm going to use a big C, is at 0, 0. Okay, equals r squared. Now 16 is r squared, so 16 is r squared. So how do I get r? I've got to take the square root, which would give me 4. 4 is r. Now, what do I do to graph this? All I do is I put my center, which is at 0, 0. So I'm going to use a big dot here. So right here is my center. And then I need to go out a radius of 4. So all I'm going to do is count. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to put another dot. And then I'm going to go up 4, put a dot. Go left 4, put a dot, go down 4, put a dot. Then all I'm going to do is try to connect those as best I can with a curve. So mine's probably not going to look very good, but I'm going to try my best. So you see it's not very smooth. Okay, but that's your circle. Okay, it's kind of hard on the iPad, but hopefully you can do a little bit better job on your paper. All right, let's look at number 2. Okay. So again, our equation is x minus h squared. So one thing to note here is that is plus 2. That's important because that means my center is actually at negative 2. You always do the opposite. Same thing here. That's at plus 3. So my center is at negative 3. So what I do, I go to the point negative 2, negative 3, and I put a dot. Oh, it's a little off. There we go. Then I look at my radius squared. Okay, so r squared is 1. So I take the square root. And that's still just going to give me 1. So what's that mean? That means I go a distance 1 away. And I put a point. Still off a little bit. 1, go up 1, go left 1, go down 1. And then I just draw around. And again, not very good on the iPad. All right, let's look at this one. Where's my center? Okay, this one, it is minus, so that is going to be a positive 3. So there's my center at 3. And then this one, I'm going to use blue here. That's a positive 3, so it's going to be negative 3. So remember that. It's always the opposite of what it is in the equation. So my center is at 3, negative 3. So I go to 3, negative 3, and I put a point. And then my r squared is 16, so r squared is 16. So to get r, take the square root, so r is 4. So then again, I go 4 away. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So here, 1, 2, 3, 4, up. 1, 2, 3, 4, left. 1, 2, 3, 4, down. And then I'm going to draw my circle. which is kind of football looking. All right. Now, what about this one? These we're going to write the equation, okay? So when we write the equation, this is your h, that's your k, and that's your r. So it'd be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Now, you'll want to simplify this, especially on the state test on the computer. It's not gonna probably accept that. So what you want to put is this right here. That's just going to be x squared because you're subtracting 0. That's going to be y squared. Sorry. So y squared. And then 7 squared is 49. There you go. Okay. What about this one? Okay, one thing to remember again, it's always going to be the opposite in the equation. So it's going to be x plus 3 squared plus y plus 8 squared equals, and then I do 4 squared. 4 squared is 16. All right, one more. Oh, okay. So different. We don't have the center here. We have the ends of the diameter. Well, think about it visually here. We've got a circle. Here's the diameter. Here's one point, which is at negative 17, 8. Here's the other point, which is at 17, negative 6. Where's the center at? It's going to be right in the middle. So what I have to do is I got to find midpoint. So this takes us back to way back when, some previous lessons. How do you get midpoint? You add the values and divide by 2. So my center, I'm going to do my x's first. Negative 17 plus 17 divide by 2. Then I do my y's. 8 plus negative 6. Slide that over a little bit so I can see it. Plus negative 6 divide by 2. Okay. So that center is going to be at, that's 0. I do the other one too, that's 1. So my center's at 0, 1. Okay. So there's the first thing. So I have my center. Now I have to find my radius. Now how in the world do I get my radius? Well, if my center is here at 0, 1, my radius is the distance from the center to one of the endpoints. Now it doesn't matter which one you do, but I'm going to do this one. So now I've got to go back even further, and I got to go back and remember distance formula. Okay, so let me write that out. Distance formula was this. Square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. All right, so I'm going to do that. So I get square root of 17 minus 0 squared plus negative 6 minus 1 squared. So if I do that, get my calculator, 17 squared is 289 plus, that's going to be 49. And if I do that, I'm going to have to write this off to the side. It's square root of 338. Now, you may want to take the square root of that, but don't. And here's why. Okay, so I'm going to slide this up a little bit. Remember, the equation is this. The equation is you take your center, which is back up here again. So it's x squared, because I'm not subtracting anything, it's 0, plus parenthesis y minus 1 squared, because it's positive, we do the opposite, equals, remember it's r squared. Well, what's that mean? That means this is my r. That's what r is equal to. Let me write that over here. That's equal to r. So what would r squared be? That's just squaring that, which is going to do what? Get rid of the square root. So there's no reason to take the square root of the number because you're going to end up squaring it anyway, which would get rid of the square root. So then that becomes the equation. So that was a little more difficult, but it's still not too bad. So hopefully you followed this.